From IBM TV, International Broadcast Media, this is the Lawyer's Den. This unique broadcast brings you in depth discussions with American legal scholars to discuss the current issues facing our nation. I am Bill Tresvant, and along with my esteemed Southern colleague, Nick Palavita, we are your co hosts.
Is that my cue to come in?
I think so, Nick. I think so.
I was just checking it out. That's all.
I know. We're just a bunch of kids fumbling around trying to get this started. But
Yep.
Nick, before I hand the honors over to you to bring on our guests, and while I have them quarantined intentionally,
quarantine. Okay, that's a good place for them.
Or sequestered witnesses, Nick.
Right.
It seems to me that you and I deserve a victory lap today, because I think the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and in 24 hours, I think we have an answer to the presidential election. Nick, did you hear?
No, I don't know. Why are you talking to somebody upstairs about this?
Oh, no. Him and I are equals, so I don't. He's not.
Okay, got it. Right. Okay.
I'm just letting you know, but don't mind me. Right. But more importantly, Nick, AP News has certified that and confirmed that Arizona, New Mexico, Wisconsin, and Michigan are in Biden's column, and separately, a different station has confirmed that Nevada is in Biden's column. We're just waiting for the two of them to get together. And I think that the big issue is simply that they're waiting on the final official report from the clerk in the county that Las Vegas is in before everybody certifies Las Vegas. And you know what that means, Nick?
It means the news is probably wrong again, but go on.
No, you meant the polls, Nick. What it means is that Biden is exactly at 270, and that is without Pennsylvania, that is without North Carolina.
I don't know why this such astonished. Why you're so astonished about that? I already said it was going to be him, and the thing is, if you went on further, it's going to be 270 to 268. So the thing is, I predicted that last night. So why are you Why are you concerned?
Okay, you see, Nick.
Why are you so excited?
Nick, I wanted to take this time to do a victory lap, because when we bring our sequestered guests on, I am so going to dance on the predictions of Professor Lamparello and Michigan.
Let's bring Professor Lamparello in then.
And so I thought, Nick, that maybe you and I could just revel.
Let's do that. Hailing from Georgia, a graduate of the University of Southern California, the Ohio State University, and a professor, actually a graduate from NYU too. This guy spent way too much time in college, and he's still in college because he teaches at Georgia. Let's bring in our favorite person of interest, as they would say, Adam Lamparello. Adam, welcome back to the show.
Good to see you.
Your name was already used in vain. Hopefully you couldn't hear that. Did you hear it backstage or not?
No.
Oh, good. Okay, good. We didn't hear all that. So let's bring in our other panelist from Salt Lake City, also another JDLM attorney, licensed before the United States Supreme Court. Let's bring in Jeff Teichert, our other JDLM. Okay. Now, notice there are 3 JDLMs. I don't want you to feel inferior here, Bill, but I'm going to tell you we have another person backstage who is also a JDLM, who actually hails from the University of Denver and from Lithuania, now practices immigration in Miami, Florida. Guidry, welcome back to the show.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, she calls us gentlemen.
I know.
She's such a great person. You know, the thing is, I was going to really know. Now, Beckett Cantley, our other JDLM, which put us to 5 JDLMs, unfortunately is having surgery again, so he's not going to be able to join us tonight. That was the report that I got. So he sends his whatever. Start off in the den.
I will, but first I just have to take this personal. Professor Cantley, if you're out there listening to me, I just wanted to give you my card in case your surgery goes wrong, because I still have to make $1. I'm just for dollars, and I know you got an LLM. See, that's shameless ambulance basically. How do you like that? Get everybody to move here.
He's chasing ambulances already, and there's no injury. That reminds me of somebody who's suing about votes that haven't been cast yet.
Oh, are you reading my mind, Nick? Are
No,
you?
I didn't. I just clipped it. I mean, I've been like booked with appointments all day, but I said there's some guy who's going to say, well, they shouldn't be allowed to vote because fill in the blanks, and I'm taking it all the way to the Supreme Court. What the
Okay,
heck?
listen. I am pleased
Who
to
said
know.
that?
And okay, well,
I will neither admit nor deny who the fearless leader of this country is at this point in time.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Silence.
I am pleased. I am pleased. And then I didn't even need to send out a briefing memo to this panel. I simply sent out the names of 5 states, and that is because they are the answer to the question of who actually won the presidential election that we had yesterday. We all thought that it was going to be this extended program, court fights and unknowing and uncertainty, and the markets were going to be upset, and it was going to be all this mudslinging, and lawyers were going to make millions of dollars, and yet, Nick, they did not. And today, Nick, we get to collect on some really mean things that some of our panelists have been saying. But for our audience, let's just go through this. Arizona has been certified by AP News as going for Biden.
Remember now, just time out, guys. Remember that's a newspaper guy. It is not official by any stretch of the imagination. It's the biased media. But go on, Bill.
The Associated Press is a biased media. Okay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, there's absolutely no question. I've listened to the president say, and I also know they do not have the ability to certify any election. So it's of their opinion, counselor, their weak media opinion that these states have.
Then they
have an objection.
Want anything, and our guests get off scot-free and cannot be held accountable. No. I wrote it in my black book. I got it straight from my buddy upstairs. Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, which is going to be confirmed tomorrow when the clerk actually certifies the results from the county involving Las Vegas, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Adam, all for Biden. And Nick, that gives Biden what exact number?
270. But the thing is, I predicted it yesterday that he was going to win. You guys just don't listen to me. So the thing is, if you go back and listen to the rolls, because at the end of the day, everybody goes, oh, who's going to win, like that. And I said, I already know who's going to win. It's Biden. And then everybody goes, okay. So I don't know why this is such a big surprise for you, Bill. Bill, I'm even getting a Diet Coke from Shaquille out of this.
Okay,
a Diet Coke from Shaquille.
No, you're exempt from this panel. This is just Bill, the lowly JD, because all of these LLMs for weeks now have been bludgeoning me, and with their collective intellectual prowess and brute and just talent, could not get what I, a lowly Jester Dollars, got right, which is that Biden is the winner. Biden took Michigan, Adam. Biden took Wisconsin, Adam. We don't need Pennsylvania, although it's going to be icing on the cake. We don't need North Carolina, Nick, although that would be icing on the cake too. And
not happening, but it's okay.
We don't even need Georgia, although I hear Georgia's really close. Now, the only person that I think Adam, you're going to have to make amends at some point. Mm-hmm. But and while you kind of figure that out, let's welcome young lady because you apparently are going to be quite busy with the reforms in immigration law. I mean, how are you looking at things?
Well, I wish I were present here with you gentlemen yesterday, because I would definitely have joined Nick's position. I do think that, with everything that was happening, Biden was on the right track. However, with the results from my darling state where I'm staying right now, Florida, Biden had a little shook up, and even the online betting services actually lost the favorite as Biden on that moment, and Trump took over. But however, it was reversed shortly after this morning, in early morning hours. But yes, I think the change is coming, and it definitely should affect the immigration area, in addition to investment area, business investment that I'm working on too. However, any change in politics takes time. It's pragmatic. Therefore, I'm definitely more on that. Step outside, watch what happens, and then let's see. But yeah, we are where we are.
Nick, let's not wait. Adam, let's pile on.
Let's bring Adam in. And by the way, all your students that listened to you last night, Well, we won't go there. Go on,
No,
Adam.
no, wait. I priority.
You do want to go there. This guy's the lion in the den, baby.
Adam wouldn't even give me a moment's rest. It was at 11:35. He had shown up. He had left. He had shown up, and then he had left. And I thought he was done, but he showed back up at 11:15 and gloated over Michigan and Wisconsin and said, "Bill, there's nothing I can do for you. It's Trump wins." And
I
yet,
have to say, Adam, I love your curly hair. I have to say it. It's definitely
There we go. There's always
before.
there's something
love
positive
it.
that actually happens. Guidry
Yep.
likes your curly hair, so that
Approve it.
that
I
makes
approve
makes
that.
up
She
for
has
everything.
excellent judgment.
go ahead,
There
Adam.
we go.
Go ahead, Adam. You have the floor.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, I think you guys are missing the real story here, which is the one vote that I received in the great state of Florida for the presidency. And I think that needs to be highlighted. I'm surprised that the media hasn't reported that. The second thing I'd say is I think the polls got it wrong. So while my prediction was slightly off, it was far closer than what the prognosticators said would happen. And but I do agree that on January 20th, it will not be President Trump. It will be President Harris.
I second.
Okay. That's quite an interesting call from the professor, President Harris.
Jeff?
Yeah. Okay.
No, sorry, Nick. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, I have a couple of ideas here. First of all, Michigan and Wisconsin, I feel like the result is a little unfortunate. It's not that I don't like competitive races, but each of those are decided by well under 1%. I think there will be recounts up there if Trump hangs on in Pennsylvania and the two southern states, which I expect him to do. I think those two states will be heavily recounted, and we'll be having lawyers involved and things like that. And I had hoped either way it went that wouldn't happen, because inevitably the margin of victory is going to be smaller than the margin of error, and that's a tough place to be. It reminds me of Florida back in 2000. But there's two larger points that I take out of this election, other than just obviously, no, I expect this to hold up for Biden, even with recounts and things like that. I imagine it will. I think they probably did a good job in those states on their election, if I had to make an educated guess. But here's the two larger takeaways. Number one, I have never seen the media so in the tank for any candidate in my life as they were for Biden this last time. And you look at the polling, it was really more oriented to driving the result than to predicting it. And I think that's unfortunate. I mean, all these polls had Biden winning in a landslide. It looks like he may squeak by with a one electoral vote victory. And how do you explain this? The same thing happened when Trump beat Hillary in the last election. Oh, Hillary was going to win by this massive margin. Did not happen. The blue wave that Nick predicted didn't happen either time. And then George Bush in 2004, he was going to lose to John Kerry, came away with a comfortable victory. And has there been a poll in the last 20 years going in where the Democrat wasn't favored to win by a lot? I don't think that there has been. This isn't a conspiracy theory, but read Bernard Goldberg's book, Bias. I do not trust the polls anymore. I think it's a completely discredited profession. I think that they're terribly dishonest, and we got to just blow that wide open. So that's number one. Second thing, I'm going to take it to my own party a little bit. We haven't won California since 1988. Okay, I was 21 years old and a sophomore in college at that time, and the president that won that election died of old age a few years ago. Okay, we haven't even competed in California since 1996 when Bob Dole said he was going to fight for it and then lost it. Okay, we lost Arizona this time, which we were expected to win. All right. Now, Trump did 14% better than he did last time with Hispanics, but it wasn't enough to take him over the edge. I think we got to talk about it. The Republican Party has got to do a better job of talking to Hispanics and blacks, frankly. And Trump is up over what he did the last time among both of those demographics. But if we don't do a better job, look, if we can't compete for California, we've lost the popular vote in every election since 1988 except 2004. Every election. Okay, we're diminished as a national party if we can't compete in California. If we just have to punt on 55 electoral votes right out of the gate, then we're only going to win by the narrowest of margins anytime we do win. Okay, we can't do that. We have got to figure out a way to compete in California again. And I think that begins, certainly it's not the whole picture, but it begins with talking to Hispanics again and constructively engaging them and speaking to them in a way that they understand would benefit them. A lot of them are Catholic. They're socially conservative. A lot of them are hardworking people and want to see a good, strong economy. The Republican Party needs to speak to their issues in a way that will connect with them, or we're no place. I mean, we lost Arizona this time. We're losing California every election for 20 years, and Texas is going to be next if we don't fix this. So those are my two takeaways from this election.
Jeff, just if I may, and for our audience as well, and this is important. Jeff, I think that you're absolutely right in your critique of the media with regard to them being in the tank for Biden. I think that you're absolutely correct with them having been in the tank for Clinton. That is entirely legitimate. There are various reasons for it. I have a particular penchant, which is that the media is tightly controlled. It only has five institutions, and they filter what everybody gets, and I think that that's unfortunate. But I do think that that critique is right. I also think that you're right with regard to the Republican Party. And, you know, it's not like your colleagues in your party haven't been attempting to do this. There was the postmortem after the loss of Congress a couple of years back in which they outlined exactly what you just described. And quite frankly, your prescription for the Republican Party in reaching out to the natural base, to its natural base, would include Latinx Americans, because you're right, they're socially conservative, they fit right into the base, and if your party ever stopped bashing them for whatever reason, because it makes them feel good, which I think is a complete mistake, your party would be far scarier, only because you combine that with the organizational discipline that the Republican Party has. Lord knows how Democrats ever win an election, because we are notoriously dysfunctional. But I think that you have to say, and I just wanted to say I agree with you on that point.
Thank you, Bill.
Take it seriously. Go ahead. Who's next?
Oh, well, Guidry.
Yes, Guidry.
Well, Jeff, if I may, to respond to your argument, I would say Florida really got the Latin vote, and South Americans, Cubans, Venezuelans were very afraid of socialism, and they very gladly support the Trump administration. So maybe the administration should take some notes to that extent. However, I do think that there is a young generation of Latinos, Latinx that needs to have a different approach by either party. So I think that this president chose right away immigration as one of the primary, concepts to build his agenda. And I think immigration was also one of those agendas that kind of affected him at the end of the election. And therefore, I think that it's a very well-deserved result of his 4 years of continuous policies. And I will also agree with you when it comes to the media. I'm Democrat. If you did not notice that, I'm wearing blue. I'm from Colorado. I'm proud of Colorado. I'm also not very proud of Florida. However, it's in the process. But I agree with you. The media attention to one party and such an obsession with it makes me worried, and it should not be happening. And I think that it's a different issue that needs to be resolved by both of parties.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Adam, what is your comments?
Well, the first thing I'd say is, look, to be quite honest, I did not vote for Trump, and I did not vote for Harris, because I didn't believe that either. I was not enthusiastic about either. But what I will say is this: Donald Trump has, I mean, the media bias against him for the last 4 years was so despicable. And it really, the way that this man was attacked from day one, accusing him of being an illegitimate president, a ridiculous investigation into Russia, a ridiculous impeachment proceeding, and then you turn on CNN or MSNBC any day of the week, and you see these scurrilous attacks against this man, and the insults and the bias against him was just absolutely disgusting. And quite frankly, you know, to be very honest with you, I don't think that Joe Biden is a bad person. I think he seems like a very decent man, but I don't think that he has any new ideas. He's not solved any of the pressing or addressed any of the pressing problems in 47 years that we've struggled with, including immigration. And he's going to be it's going to be a President Harris, not a President Biden. And this brings me to a broader point, which I have said repeatedly over the years. I am not a fan of democracy, and I never have been.
Yes,
I think it's a good idea.
But you love Constitution.
Yes.
That's what's happening.
I do not believe. What I believe in is I believe in a board of intellectuals. You know, I really believe in in Aristotle and a board of intellectuals. Not democracy to me is really a terrible form of government because, I mean, think about it. Justice Elena Kagan or Chief Justice John Roberts' vote counts the same as the ignorant 19-year-old who is in college and has no idea what's going on in the political arena. And it really is ruled by idiots, quite frankly, if you want me to be honest. And I think it's a bad form of government. I don't like it at all.
It's actually proven. It's proven that, well, let's put it this way. There's studies on that, Adam. And I debate my colleague Bill about this all the time, that democracies are inefficient relative to dictatorships. And people go, well, you got to have a democracy. But in China, Xi Jinping, who runs this country with an iron fist, is a lot more efficient. Their GDP grows at 8%. He brought up all the people in the lower classes who are now well off. A well-run dictatorship is much more efficient than a democracy. So I've debated that with Mr. Bill, who still clings to Athenian, oh, well, democracies are good, because it was good 2,000 years ago, but it's not efficient. And the thing is, so that we're totally agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with Jeff. The media here is just incredibly biased. And the thing is that they show parts and then they disappear. And they hammered Trump from the day one. Yeah, he wasn't honest, but I'm sorry, I never get the full picture anyway. You always got the picture they wanted to show you, and it became really, really painful to watch. And then Fox is biased on the other side. So every time you're looking at the media, you're looking at what sort of biases are you looking at? But that goes back to what Bill and I know. 5 companies control 90% of all media that people listen to in the United States. 5 companies. So we're not too far from Russia, but also they elected Trump because CNN gave him so much coverage and made these crazy statements that put him on the map. If they didn't, he would have died years ago, because the thing is, he would have had no press coverage whatsoever. So they basically created the monster, and now they're killing the monster. I mean,
it's something a little bit more. And Adam, I certainly hear you, but that's clearly just one side of it when it comes to the media bias. I readily agreed with Jeff because Jeff is right. However, Adam, I think that you went a little bit too far. That's what you always do. It's been my constant complaint. You're not trying to turn Trump into some sort of martyr on the altar of the media. And I agree the media was a little rough with him, okay? But don't think that he wasn't rough with the media. He yanked press passes. He made fun of them, their disabilities. He was generally rude and crass, and in all kinds of ways, he was ridiculous. He lied to reporters about being a source agent. I mean, he's done all the stuff. Now, what I can do is I can differentiate with and agree with Jeff without necessarily agreeing with you that Trump is a martyr. Jeff is right, and Nick is right. There's a whole revamping that we have to do with regard to media coverage. But by no means am I going to feel bad for Trump because he didn't get his fair shot. He had the bully pulpit. And let me tell you what he did with the bully pulpit. Do you remember all of those COVID briefings during prime time for months on end when he told you to use a UV light and drink bleach? I'm sorry. Well, the poor guy I guess he was just unfairly persecuted, right, Adam?
He absolutely was. Let's go back to the second presidential debate in 2016 when the quote-unquote moderators were Anderson Cooper and Martha Raddatz. Give me a break. This man has been insulted, demeaned, and degraded from day one. And quite frankly, I understand why he punched back every single time. And I think it's disgusting. I think the media is disgusting. And here's the example I think that really is the solution to all of these problems. Finland. See, in Finland, I'll tell you why. In Finland, almost every day people wake up, they clean their houses, and they wash their windows. And you want to know why? Because they take pride in their communities. And that is the solution to a lot of the problems. It's not government. It's people taking pride in their communities, okay? And it's people engaging in community policing. And that's how you improve this country from the bottom up. You're not going to do it with government programs and throwing money at problems. But as an aside, I reiterate my opposition to democracy and my absolute scorn for the way the media treated this man compared to how they treated Hillary Clinton, how they treated Joe Biden, which was ridiculous. But ultimately, what we're going to have is a President Harris, and we're going to have a Senate that's not going to be amenable to the policies that she advocates, and it's going to be more of the same. And that's why I think the key is the community, not government top-down lawmaking.
Okay. Jeff, and then I'm going to come to you, Gidra. Jeff, we're going to put aside the media question for now, because at least you and I are in agreement. And, I don't know how I can fit Adam into a sane majority opinion. But, Jeff, democracy or whatever he's describing, where do you come down on that?
Let me make one quick aside. Let me make one quick aside on the point that Gidri made about Florida, and then I will certainly come to that. She talked about how Trump was winning the Hispanic vote in Florida. The only point I want to make about that is that Florida is different because a lot of the Hispanics in Florida are Cuban. Some are Venezuelan. They've escaped countries where they experienced communism or socialism and suffered under it. And yeah, they hate it. They tend to vote conservative most of the time. And that's been true for a long time. So that's Trump can speak to those sentiments, but they're going to be especially effective in Florida where, I don't know that the same paradigm applies in the Southwest. Now to the other question that you just posed. I'm wondering what kind of crazy house I've entered. Thomas Paine wrote a book about called Common Sense against the idea of monarchy and why should people in the Lucky Sperm Club rule over other people because of the accidents of birth and stuff like that. Well, monarchists were making arguments for centuries about how democracy doesn't work because it suggests that there are extraordinary possibilities in very ordinary people. And it suggested that we need government by elites. Now, I'm puzzled that Adam says he wants government by a panel of intellectuals that are smarter than everyone else, and yet he hates the idea of judicial activism and turning the Supreme Court into a super legislature, because that's exactly what they are. They're a panel of intellectuals. So I personally am opposed to that idea. I think that, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Alexis de Tocqueville wrote in Democracy in America back in the 1830s that in Europe, a watch is very expensive and it's very high quality, but in America, it's lesser quality, but almost everybody has one. Now, I think he didn't completely comprehend what economies of scale would eventually do, that America would produce the Apple Watch and smartphones and all of that kind of stuff. Economies of scale, when free people are given the opportunity to innovate, an opportunity to start something and grow and be an entrepreneur, how big the economy could get. Now, if you're mobilizing for war in a short amount of time, a dictator can do that quicker. There's no doubt about that. But freedom, allowing free people to sort of have their their freedom and their opportunities is in the long run going to build something much bigger and much better economically than you can do with a dictatorship. Just if you're talking about an economic argument. The other thing is democracy is where the people rule. I mean, that's of, for, and by the people, and the people sometimes get it wrong, but it's the worst. Like Winston Churchill said, it's the worst system of government in the entire world, except for all the other ones. And there's no way I want to throw our republic out. There are checks and balances placed in our Constitution to make sure that mob rule didn't result. They put the Senate in there to give people sober second thought, to give them a longer term of office so they're not quite as affected by politics. There's a lot of blocking mechanisms in the Constitution to prevent mob rule, but do I ever want to give up the system where the people are basically in charge? Hell no.
Okay, well, the thing is, here's my retort on that before the den goes crazily in favor of this this horrible result that these people that believe in 200-year-old democracies that are totally inefficient. So I have to concur with Adam. They are totally inefficient. You're just going to have to deal with it. When you read studies on it and you see empirical evidence about it, it is inefficient. But I'm going to give Adam a way out. Corporate America is generally not a democracy. And that's one reason it is much more efficient than the government, is because it's not a democracy. The CEO says, do this, do that. If not, you're fired. Okay. And the thing is, your election, well, in a lot of cases, there is no election. So the thing is, it's not really a democracy, and it runs on a very efficient chassis. As you move toward government, I see his frustration. How can this moron with sub 70 IQs who knows nothing, is a low information voter, be equal to a person who isn't that way? In other words, who actually educated themselves on the issues, understands the issues, and is making the vote. It's totally weird. But let me tell you, Adam, there is a way out. It's called corporate America, where your votes are basic on your stock and the money that you have makes the difference. And it's not, hey, all people are created equal. With that, I will yield the remainder of my time to my major supporter in this argument, Bill Trustman.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I am going to yield the remainder of your time and my time to our guest, Deirdre. Can you please help me out with these two gentlemen? Any way, shape, or form, young lady?
Well, gentlemen,
Democracy. No,
this
because dictatorship is more complicated. It's either democracy, dictatorship, or just corporatize everything.
So for dictatorship, for instance, we would have to have one dictator. Who would be the dictator? Amazon, Apple, like making it more business-like.
Yeah.
Also,
They're very.
No, Nick, you can't interrupt.
We have to have
okay,
one.
I won't interrupt. I apologize.
Dictatorship, there has to be one, and when we have more, it becomes a completely different system. But I think that democracy, like the fact by itself that we are here sitting and talking about how great it would be not to have democracy, but well-run dictatorship, it's actually democracy at work. And another thing is like this keywords are well-run dictatorship. Can you tell me, can you give me an example of a well-run dictatorship that actually was more efficient than anything else? Is it Russia? But then when it comes, what is the human cost there? If you look at simple media and look at the human rights when it comes to different aspects of small businesses to make that great money and escape the monopoly in general. So I think it's very extreme, and I do think I agree that there is difficult to find a good system that would be functioning. But I also think that there are different countries with different resources, different population that could be an indicator of one system better than the other one. When it comes to the United States, where we are in the world and domestically, I really cannot see another system that would be more logical and more functioning. And I don't think that Adam and Nick, I'm not sure, I'm more careful with you, Nick, but I don't think that you would be very comfortable in that system or talking about the system that we're actually dealing within the dictatorship. I grew up in a Soviet Union country. I was still young when I left, but I can say that there's nothing beautiful or as attractive to that system or more attractive as a democracy. And it was said very well that it should not be defined by a better sperm or something, more elite, who could be in a better ranking position to make decisions and to pretend or be equated to those elites to make the decisions for others.
Okay, Adam, I really have to ask you, do you really want a corporate logo on your Social Security check when you retire each month?
Well, I want something other than what I have now. And what I'll say is this. We do not live in a democracy. We do not live in a democracy. Money controls politics. The average person has no voice, and their vote at the ballot box is more symbolic than real. Quite frankly, I don't believe in a dictatorship. I believe in being ruled by a board of intellectuals who specialize in various policy areas and do the right thing. It's not the same as judicial activism. Judicial activism, when I talk about that, it's when judges reach outcomes by disregarding or entirely ignoring the Constitution, CEG, substantive due process, Griswold, and Roe. Now, what I will say is that I find it terribly problematic that the beer guzzling frat boy from whatever state has the same voting rights as Chief Justice Roberts. These people don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they're voting for. I was in a voting booth. I was in a polling place once, and I had some guy there who was binging on donuts that they provided for free, and he said, "I come here for the food, not for the vote." And then he walked into the voting booth and pushed a button. What the hell is that? I believe that we should have a constitutional convention, and we should reform our system of government to have a board of intellectuals. And quite frankly, I think less choice and a little bit less freedom may not be a bad thing.
Oh, well, Nick,
Well, the thing is, I agree with Adam, and you actually have that in corporate America. And so Guidry goes, well, I don't know who could be representative of a dictatorship that was successful. Well, besides Xi Jinping, you can go back to your Soviet Union and look at Catherine the Great, who was very successful ruling Russia and bring Russia out of the Stone Ages, basically collecting all nice artwork and making St. Petersburg the great city that is today. So there are leaders that are the monarchists in the past, and we have a history of them that actually have done some really good work, and they could operate on a very efficient basis. So it's not beyond the scope. And Xi Jinping, I'm sorry, 8% GDP, that's something that Trumpers dream of, and they're not going to see it. We're lucky to hit 3% GDP. Very efficiently run China. Sorry. The dictatorships are more efficient, but in the United States, since we can't have that dictatorship, we have our corporations. So,
Nick, I've listened, and I can listen no longer.
Does it mean you're going to read the studies from SSRN that show that dictatorships are more efficient than democracy?
Well,
before
Nick,
you opine.
You know what I find about dictatorships? They engage in the very same behavior you're engaging in right now, which is not to allow the other side to speak, because clearly there's one idea only. And that is always a bad.
I have no clue what this guy's talking about. He's saying, I won't wait just a minute. Sorry. It was an accident, Bill. I've learned from the dictator. It's what does Sasha Starr say? It's Novichok or whatever the heck they do over there.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna go back to asking questions. Forget what my opinion is.
Yeah, what difference does it make? But in any event, the thing is, it's another one of Adam's utopian dreams that he has at night. But the thing is, it's not going to ever comport to any form of reality anytime soon. But I also agree with Guidry and Jeff. Okay, when they're talking about the people in Venezuela and the people that come in from Cuba, and this is the counter argument between, socialism is wonderful. They destroyed both those countries. They're trashed. I mean, completely. And the thing is, it's not a good argument to say, hey, we're going to move toward. This is why Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Bleh. Do you really want to be the United States, be another Venezuela or a Cuba? I mean, that's not what I'm looking forward to.
No, let's talk about it, because the weeks before we had the luxury of mere speculation, and now we have the burden and the responsibility of certainty. And here's the question: everybody been, and maybe it was the campaign season, maybe elevated levels of whatever. Um, Now we have Biden. Do we think that the country is actually going to turn socialist?
This is what scares the independents. I mean, the people that are the moderates is not Biden. It's Bernie and Liz. I mean, the thing is, they believe.
No. Nick, you can't just keep repeating, the scary ghost monster and the headless horseman kind of thing. We have Biden, and it looks like the Republicans are going to retain control of the Senate, although it's still uncertain, but it looks like that. So we'll have a Democratic House, we'll have a Democratic president, we have a Republican Senate. Adam finds it absolutely horrific because he figures nothing's going to get done. But here's my basic question, and I'm going to start with Jeff, because you banned me from the den. I don't think I'll forget that. Jeff.
Permanent scar in your psychology.
Yeah, I think you meant it, Nick.
It was an accident. I hit the wrong button.
Now, Jeff, seriously. Given that Adam's prognostication may be true, that we will have a stalemated government, how scared are you of America turning into a socialist country? Because let's at least get that off the table right at the beginning of a new administration, can't we?
Well, just a minor point, talking about political theory, which Adam and I both love. People talk about we don't like gridlock in Washington, and if you really feel that way, you can adopt Nick's model and say, let's have a dictator to just make decisions. Our Constitution is not set up to run government like a corporation. It is not set up for efficiency. It is set up for security, of freedom. And it's full of blocking mechanisms which create gridlock, and it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to restrain the excesses of government. And James Madison said, in fact, that the twin objectives of the Constitution are first to allow the government to control the governed, and then to allow the government to control itself. And meaning that the three branches of government have to check each other. I think that is something I take comfort in, that we've got a Republican Senate to replace to block the excesses of President Harris. And I think the thing that I worry about is the direction it takes us. I mean, we heard Bernie Sanders say at the DNC this year that ideas that were considered radical just a few years ago are now considered mainstream. And I think he's right. I think if just a few years ago, Bernie Sanders was considered a total left-wing radical, his ideas were sort of laughed at. And now he and AOC are right at the center of the fight. And so I worry about not the slippery slope, but the direction we're headed in. And, I think in some ways, Joe Biden is a relic of the New Deal Democrat Party that doesn't really exist anymore. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there are more like him, and fewer like Liz and Bernie, as Nick called them.
Okay, Gidger, I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, one, socialism and an age of gridlock, and then two, the radical left occupying the center of the front rather than relying on sleepy.
Well, to socialism, two words. Come on. I think it's been a good buzzword to be used, to picked up by Republicans, and to attack and to paint a picture with a very broad brush. I really do not think that it stands so much ground, and it has a lot of weight. There is history of socialistic parties, of socialistic rulings. It's not going to be applicable to the United States. I think if you talk about Medicare or different Obamacare, different systems, it's still going to have its own process to be amended or adjusted. I really do not see socialism taking over or spreading like a big virus here in the United States. However, when it comes to radical leftism, I'm definitely seeing, of course, we're all seeing it based on this very heated, divided rhetoric, based on absolute division when it comes to nationality, when it comes to different policies. There is definitely a schisms of I think before we were able to kind of focus on different issues, focusing on the issues right now. I can definitely see that there is, to be honest, I'm a little bit scared of what's going to happen. And to give you a simple example, I wanted to join you from my office in Miami. However, my office was evacuated because of the protest based on the election. So we all had to leave before 5 p.m. Everyone was afraid of what's going to happen. And I'm sure it's not the only, of course, we see this is not the only place. This is a minor example, I think, where the nation is coming and why sometimes it feels like the ground is kind of slipping away. And I'm definitely scared of where we could get in the future.
Okay, I guess that raises well. Thank you for that, and it kind of turns the conversation because I think that your concerns are legitimate, and it is true. While we can sit here and talk about 270 and be civil and discuss the vicissitudes of the winds, there are people that are out there that are going to protest. Obviously, there's always a loser on one side when you have a binary election. And I guess the question before was that in various circumstances or municipalities and governmental areas, they were concerned about violence. Some people were concerned about violence from the right. Some people were concerned about violence from the left. Now that we have a clearer idea of what we may think is going on, I'm wondering what the panel thinks about the actual threat of potential violence. There have been protests, even here in Washington, D.C. They've been relatively mild, but we didn't know what the outcome of the election was going to be. Now that we have a clearer idea, is anybody concerned? Nick, do you want to start? Or do you want
Well, I'm actually not concerned. What I am concerned about is that Joe Biden will not have an opportunity to pack the bench of the Supreme Court because the Senate will block him now. So all that stuff of that, hey, we're going to go add more Supreme Court justices and we're going to stack the Supreme Court, that's over. So that thing's all gone. And so in terms of like going out in the streets and protesting, yeah, you can do it all you want. I mean, but I don't see it happening here in Raleigh. No matter who wins, I just don't see it happening. Not going to happen.
Okay, then I have a slightly different question. If we, and it's on the court packing plan. Now that Jeff and Adam are sufficiently satisfied, Adam, there's still the issue now that it's very real. 6-month review of the entire judicial system. What do you think now that it's actually real? He's going to have to come through with one promise, and one of that is setting up this commission. What are your thoughts on the commission, and where are you going with it?
Well, I think that to the extent that there are reforms needed for the judiciary, court packing is the worst answer. I would propose two solutions, among others. Number one, impose a six vote supermajority requirement on the court so that to affirm or reverse a lower court's decision, you need 6, not 5 votes. That'll get rid of the divisive 5-4 decisions and promote moderation, incrementalism, and consensus building on the court. I also think the court should stop granting certiorari in cases that are socially and politically divisive where there is no plain violation of the Constitution's text. It had no business getting involved in the ACA case, National Federation of Independent Investors versus Sebelius. They need to stop granting certiorari in those cases. That will help to depoliticize the court. But more broadly, the problem in this country, as I see it, is that we're very divided because of the prevalence of identity politics. I cannot count how many times in conversations with people my arguments are dismissed because I'm called a white male or a white privileged male or something like that. We look at people now, we don't look at them as individuals anymore. We look at their skin color or their background and we make judgments or form stereotypes based on what we perceive as their membership in this group, whether black, white, Hispanic, and that's just terrible. And that has totally divided our country. We are individuals and we should be seen as such. And I think that is the problem that needs to be solved. And I am certain that Joe Biden is not going to solve it.
Okay, Jeff. Okay, Jeff. Now that the Judicial Review Commission is real, what do you think? Because before it was just speculative, Jeff. Now it's very real, and it could be true that our colleagues across the United States are listening to your ideas. What would you do, and what would you say, and what do you have to offer, Jeff, on the Judicial Reform Commission?
Well, it depends on what we're reforming. If we don't like decisions coming out of the Supreme Court, that's a much more difficult long-term kind of thing. I'm not in favor of allowing minorities on the court to hijack what the majority decides. So I'm not in favor of Adam's supermajority requirement to reverse a lower court decision. I would like to see the rules of civil procedure completely thrown out and revamped. I'd like them to throw the book out, completely start over. I think it's an absolute mess. It is a minefield of ways to screw up, and instead of encouraging cases to be decided on the merits and by due process of law, it encourages cases to be decided on procedural technicalities. So that's the first thing I would do. It's not sexy. Nobody ever talks about it, but get rid of the federal rules of civil procedure. Get rid of all of the states should follow suit and do the same thing, and start over with something simpler, more basic, and allow the judge to run the courtroom instead of the nuanced ways we've tried to deal with this through making more and more rules.
So he believes in dictatorship, not a court.
I knew you'd jump in, Nick. Nick, I'm going to get to you, but I'm going to Guidry first because I don't know when you will stop and you won't listen to cues of no. So you get to go first, Guidry, please.
Just a quick.
What you're looking at now that it's real, what would you suggest?
Just a quick point to Jeff's point is in regards to procedural technicalities. If we did not have those, there would be an open door for certain abuse of decision making or writing, and therefore it has to still remain. I agree with you that definitely, I was not a big fan of civil procedure class in law school, and I agree with you that there are a lot of things that could be changed and could be cleaned up, definitely. However, I do not think that kind of killing everything and starting from the beginning is a good option, especially when we do not have simple cases coming to that level, and it is complicated.
Okay,
but I'm for the farm.
Okay, no, I have a quick question because I want to pick up on something that I actually think very highly of, and it's a suggestion from Adam. Adam, this is a rare occurrence, so please don't get used to it. But Adam had spoken when we first broached this topic. We were talking about advisory opinions and almost like declaratory judgments from the Supreme Court. How many on this panel would be in favor of such an idea?
For sure.
Okay. All right. So, Nick.
Yeah, I'm here.
I got my pound flesh. See, Adam, I'm agreeing with you wholeheartedly on this.
This is a special moment.
You won't see this again anytime soon, so go on.
Okay, go ahead, Nick. What do you got?
Well, the thing is, I noticed that Jeff is starting to side with me and Adam on this ruler by dictatorship with somebody that has intellectual property by destroying the federal rules of civil procedure, which I'd hate to be destroyed because that's a great way to make money. I mean, I spent a lot of time learning. I mean, okay, but if you destroyed that and you turn around and you gave the judge discretion and they didn't have to wade through all these crazy rules, then you go back more toward Adam and what I think, which is a more efficient way of handling a court. It's ruled by the dictator. So obviously Jeff is leaning more toward our direction by giving the judge the dictatorial powers that they so richly deserve.
Oh my God.
Jeff, notice three of us are sitting in the dictatorship camp right now, Bill. Well, he doesn't mind giving votes to people so that they feel like they're participating in democracy. So you get to vote, Bill, so you can feel like you're participating in democracy. But when the decision's made, it's going to be made by an autocratic judge. Yes.
Okay.
Structure.
You know what I get to do with the show again? I once again get to, before I pivot, I also get to declare bingo, Jeff, which I'm sure the students in your class play often. Whenever you say today's chapter is, they probably just yell out bingo because you've covered it. He hit penumbras, he hit Griswold, and he hit Roe v. Wade. And you, Nick, have hit dictatorship. Always the show. Can we get through?
Right. But we haven't covered substantive due process yet, so give Adam some break.
I'm getting traumatized by all these terms.
Yeah, okay. Go, please.
Well, half the world doesn't know what substantive due process is anyway, so
it's the better half.
Well, okay. I do want to take these last few moments. We have about 5 minutes or so, and I want to begin to at least prep our audience for what we will likely see in the next couple of days. Obviously, we expect that Trump, as he's already said it, is going to ask for recalls in Wisconsin, or Michigan if it's within the rules, and or challenge ballots wherever he can. And my understanding is that they are already going into court to stop Pennsylvania from counting any more of the legally submitted ballots, which is an interesting thing. What do you guys see as, if you see them having any strong arguments, or how you see this whole litigation subsequent to the 270 benchmark being reached? Deirdre?
Ooh, that's a heavy question, and there is definitely not enough time to answer it or even to comprehend it to the detail needed.
Let's just pick one and go.
Well,
Okay.
just looking back in 2000 Florida and where it went and how it was resolved by the Secretary of the State when it came to the final counting of the votes, I would like to think that every single vote will be counted, because there was so much previous litigation in regards to how the votes need to be counted, including Pennsylvania. So I hope that there will be as much time as needed to count each vote that was given, because it is, again, democracy at work.
Okay. Adam?
I think that Joe Biden, who seems like a very decent man, has won the election. I think that Trump will create some narrative that probably, makes himself out to be a victim. There'll be some battles in court, but he'll lose. And I think ultimately you'll have President Biden on the 20th. And although I didn't vote for him, congratulations to him. And that's how I see it.
Okay, Jeff.
Well, I read a friend of mine on Facebook said something about, in Wisconsin, 135,000 ballots showing up all at once, and they were all for Biden. Of course, I also remember hearing after 9/11, the day after, that some firemen had rode the building down and survived. I also heard that somebody was in an SUV and a whole bunch of rubble fell on them, but they survived. I never heard any more about either of those claims after that day. So I'm skeptical about all the rumors that are flying around right now. I think, they've got to look into anything that is credible. I haven't heard anything right now that would make me believe that there was massive election fraud. I'm sure there was the odd case where somebody voted voted in place of their deceased spouse, something like that. But I don't know of any big conspiracy that I have heard of where there's credible evidence of it. If there is, I hope it's discovered and dealt with. But like I said, I don't have any information right now that indicates to me that is true.
Okay. Nick, you have the pleasure and the honor, as always.
Yeah, the lawsuits are going to start very shortly, as soon as your AP declares him to be the winner, even though the thing is, I believe it's not going to be fully certified until December 12th by a real certification panel. And the reason it's going to take so long is, watch, the lawsuits are going to start hitting. Trump said he's going to sue, and he is a very serious litigant. He usually handles about 2,000 cases a day. Oh, that's his lawyers handling it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see lawsuits are going to occupy a lot of time and space, and also in the media. And so it'll give us a lot of material to work with, Bill, because I know you love that stuff. So the thing is, the mud pool of Washington, D.C. will start overflowing with lawyers and the trash that comes out of mud in the next couple of days. In the meantime, for Shaquille, if you're listening to Australia, because I know that we've talked earlier today, mate, and I know it's only it's noon in Australia, by the way, that you can get your Coke ready for me, because as I've said, Biden was going to win, and that's kind of like, and that's the way it is. But yeah, we're going to see some lawsuits come in, so the lawyers will make money, and that'll be good. And with it, it's 8 o'clock, so we're at the hour. So I guess we'd like to thank everybody for watching Lawyers Den, and hopefully we'll be able to see you tomorrow, and maybe we'll have a better indication of who the AP believes is going to be the winner of the election. See you tomorrow.